Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Nicole with Prospect to Win. If you haven't yet subscribed, take a moment to do so, and let's get started. So today I have with me Nick Charlet, a life coach from London, England. Nick, tell me a little bit about what you're doing these days.
Hey, Nicole. Well, great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, or I don't know exactly how you describe this, but
YouTube channel.
YouTube channel, on your YouTube channel. Yeah, it's great to be here. I guess as we just discussed before, what I've been working on recently is a lot of healing work, which ties to sort of confidence. And I guess we got talking about that, and I think yeah, some of it could be really interesting.
That's great. Yeah, because a part of being great in sales or just great in anything is having that level of confidence. Whatever we feel, we express out to the world, right? And I know prior to this chat right now, you were saying how, people either know it or they feel that they have to prove it, right? So
Mhm.
tell me how you work with people.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it there, and I think it's what we were talking about a little bit before. But I think what happens all day is there's like, I guess, this listening that goes on within us, and it's kind of the commentary that goes on throughout your life. It's like that internal voice that kind of narrates what's going on during your day. I think hopefully people will be able to kind of relate to that. It's kind of like that hearing that goes on, that comments everything that's going on during your day. So um the idea would be that the type of work that I do is kind of looking at that, focusing in on what is that commentary, and more specifically, like, what type of judgments are there within that. And specifically for the judgments that are more on the negative side, that are more berating, that are more demeaning and down-putting, I guess it's just exploring that, doing the healing work around that, around those judgments, so that you can kind of clear the air and clear the commentary, let's say, so that you can be, yeah, in the presence of commentary that's just more boosting. And like you said, in sales, confidence plays a huge part. So I guess once you clear kind of a lot of that judgment, what you're left with is judgment that's either really positive or just plain clarity, and not all that baggage
Yeah.
that I get to
No,
carry.
that it's true. And the thing is, it's funny because it just affects whether you're in sales or not. This is you as an individual. And what you're talking about is that internal voice that you're talking about is a narrative. It's a narrative. And, we learned stuff somewhere. It could be how we grew up, it could be friends, people we associate with. Um, it could be everything and anything, but really it starts, I believe, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I believe it starts in childhood, right? What we're taught. You're good, you're bad, you're smart, you're dumb. Why are you doing that? Or you should be doing this. Why? Because I said so, not, oh, well, where's my value, right? It all comes down to how you feel about yourself and where are you learning these messages? Where is this narrative coming from? It came from somewhere. I don't care what that narrative says. It definitely, came from somewhere. And it's that conditioning, right? How do we break that conditioning? How do you help people break that conditioning?
Yeah, it's literally through this, and I don't think we'd probably have time to go through everything like on this call, but yeah, it's essentially just healing work, like healing that judgment side of things, looking back, becoming aware, I'd say, is the first part. Most people, we just live our lives without even knowing the judgment. Or I love the way you talked about it. I think it was I used commentary. I think you used a different way to kind of
Narrative.
describe it. Narrative, exactly, kind of narrating your life. And I love that because it's true. And I guess the only issue is when you don't realize that your whole life is being narrated by that, whatever that is. So that kind of voice. So it's kind of like, I guess the first part is just that awareness, becoming aware. That for me, and for my clients, has been like massively like a massive breakthrough, because all of a sudden you realize like, oh, interesting, that's how I talk to myself, or that's the narrative that I'm applying to my life.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think, yeah, go ahead.
It's what you know, right? We do what we know. And then
Exactly.
we think, well, this is what it is, because that's all we've known. So
Yeah.
being able to go beyond that is freaky for people, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, no, that's not me. I know this, even though this
Yes.
makes me feel like shit, right?
Yes.
I know this. And I
Yeah.
could feel a lot better knowing that, but I'm sticking to what I know because I'm safe there.
Yes.
And we all have it. We all, every single one of us has that. And so, I like to help people in sales, understand, like, I do a lot of work with cold calling and, picking up the phone. And what that entails is a ton of rejection.
Mhm.
So if people can't handle the rejection, how are they going to move forward? Right now, that's just on the cold calling side of things. But like in anything that you do, it doesn't matter what field you're in, it's going to come out there as well. Right. Or you're just going to accept your circumstances and say, well, this is how it is. Why? Because like the majority of society has trained us to think mediocre. Well, this is where it's at. And this is how I'm going to live because I can't see beyond it. Right?
It's exactly that. And I feel like there's two ways to go about it. I think to tackle, you talked about like rejection and the fears like related to that and everything like that. And I think there's two ways you can either tackle that, either take like massive amounts of action until you don't know any different. So I'm guessing you've spent so much time on calls, calling people and going through the rejections that I'm guessing it's no longer a big deal for you. It's more, another day.
Well, you
Uh,
you accept that side of things. You accept it. I'm not saying I like to be told no 50 billion times. I mean,
yeah,
my
yeah,
my son makes fun of me when he sees me on the phone sometimes. He's like, here we go again. We got a whole batch of people. Anyone ever say yes to you? I'm like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you don't see it. I have to go through a bunch of knocks before somebody says yes. And I believe that applies to life in general. It applies everywhere. That little thing there applies everywhere. And most people will be like, no, well, if I do this, what if that happens? And what if that happens? And then I struggle with the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we're our own worst enemies. It's like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a process for all of us to kind of overcome.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's funny you actually mentioned that too, because I was reading this book the other day, and by a guy called Steve Chandler, and there was a bit in it where it talks about, I think he mentions this person, Byron Katie. I don't know if you're aware of her work. Awesome for your listeners too. I'm a huge fan of her. Um, she also does some of this healing stuff, like healing work. But essentially, she talks about, he brought up this example in the book that said, if people were willing to ask others, like if they were willing to ask people, like 1,000 different people for what they wanted, like they could have anything that they wanted, like in life. Like if they were willing to go as far as asking 1,000 different people and going, like you just said, like through the no's, through the rejections, through the laughs, like through, if they were willing to go that far till 1,000, like there would be nothing that wouldn't be possible. The issue is like people don't go to that number, right? Like we'll stop at like 10, we'll stop at 100, or we'll stop, before you actually hit that threshold where potentially maybe it was number, 896 that you needed to reach to get that yes for whatever crazy thing you wanted to ask for. That person was actually gonna be like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, let's make it happen. But you have to get through those numbers too, right? So yeah, I totally relate on that point. I think, like, yeah, you go through those calls and you hit those numbers. Why? Because like, eventually the numbers add up and they will lead you to where you need to go.
And I love that what you just said. You said, going after what you want and asking for it. So that's really what it is. Sales or no sales, just in
Yeah.
life in general, and just understanding that that's a process. Just the fact that you can ask, somebody's gonna budge, right? Somebody's gonna come around and somebody's gonna budge.
Exactly.
And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So if we were to just, end off now, do you have any like special tips you want to share with people, just to inspire them to move forward, just to help them along if you see struggle, like how would you do it?
I mean, I guess based on just what we talked about, I would just focus in on try to build the awareness around what is that commentary. So, and especially the moments where they feel like intense judgment come up, and we've all been there. And, I don't think it ever ends. I think it's a continuous process as as you graduate from judgment. I think there's new judgment that comes in at a higher level to like kind of or not at a higher level, but just new types of judgments that come through. So I guess my advice would be just to start paying attention and to see, just become aware. What is the commentary? What is the narrative? What is that narration that's going on, that's commenting on your day-to-day life? And I think that can be the first step to really being to really creating change, because I think you can't change it if you're not aware of it. So
Yeah, and maybe, keep a journal, jot
yeah,
down some notes, jot down things, right?
exactly. Yeah.
This is
And I'd say
great.
in those critical moments too, because you talked to a lot of salespeople, right? So it's maybe in those moments, when you get that no, let's say, what is the running commentary in that moment, right? Like, what are you saying to yourself in that moment where you hang up the phone or whatever? That's really interesting, because like how you treat yourself in that moment dictates, how you'll turn up on your next call and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, this was great. And what's the best place for people to reach out to you? I know you have a
Yeah.
Facebook group.
Yeah, I've got a Facebook group, so people can join and get a bit more of this on there. I am active on Facebook, and that's probably the best way to find me, to be honest, Facebook.
Okay. And I know you're active on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, I also have LinkedIn profile. Post
There
a little
you
less
go.
over there, but yeah, I am active.
Okay. Well, awesome. Have a great day.
Thanks, Nicole. Good to be on. Bye bye.
Bye.